Continuing where I left off yesterday, learning Kabbalah, we're going to learn. So the Ein Sof is the infinity, the endless, the formless universe state before the self-materialization of God. And our perceptions we have are like rays of a sun versus the actual sun, which doesn't change. And sephirot are the revelations of God's will. There's 10 manifestations of God's will, 10 faculty powers, 10 natural structural forces. It's a recounting of a story. It's a brilliance, text, scribe, boundary, luminary. These are all different things you could associate the sephirot with. It's autonomous forces of creation that evolve linearly from one another, or constellational forces in active dialogue with one another at every evolutionary stage. And there's 3 levels to the crown, the Keser, which is superconscious, unknowable head of nothingness, a long head. These are Kabbalistic words that correspond to the conscious levels of faith or will in the soul, pleasure. And Das is the conscious manifestation of Keter. This is like the 11th dimension, the central state of unity of the 10 sephirot. And the superconscious is the intermediary between God and the other conscious sephirot. Keser is the divine will to create, the Hebrew name of God, I am that I am, the infinite light of the Creator. The second sephirah is Chachma, which is wisdom, conscious intellect, the first unbounded flash of an idea before it takes on limitations. It's like a male light. Divine reality, first revelation, creation from nothingness. Then you have Bina, which is the infinite flash of Chachma brought into the vessel of understanding to give it grasp of breadth and depth, feminine vessel that gives birth to emotions, reason, and brings teshuvah, return, repentance. Fourth is Chesed, loving grace of free giving, love of God, inspiring vision. Fifth is Gevurah, strength, discipline, awe of God, withholding and judgment. Sixth is Tiferes, the symmetry, the balance between the Chesed and Gevurah in compassion and beauty. Netzach is 7, perpetuity, victory, eternity. 8 is the withdrawal, the surrender, serenity, and splendor. And 9 is Yesod, the connecting to accomplish foundation, coherent knowledge, holy, WHOLLY, remembering. Malchus is the kingship, the vessel to bring action, humility and exaltedness, final revelation of the divine receiver and giver. All flow into Malchus, which doesn't have its own light. It's like the moon. And we have 4 to 6 is the primary conscious emotions. 7 to 9 is the secondary conscious emotions. So the primary conscious emotions are Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet, that upper triangle. And then the lower secondary conscious emotions, the lower triangle, is Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. 10 is the conscious emotions, which is Malchut. Inter-inclusion is the 7 by 7. The 7, not counting the first 2, in other words, verse 3, not counting Keser, Chachma, and Bina, but rather Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. These 7 times 7, these are the 7 emotions. And they are like inter-including. Earlier I mentioned that there's 6 emotions. Really there's 7, but I had Malchut as separate. In this case, Malchut's being included, just for any clarity. So counting the Omer, which is what's going on right now from Passover to Shavuos, from the second night of Passover, which is Sefirah to Omer. Sephirah is 49 days to the 50th day. 49 is 7 times 7. Each is the 2 interacting, produce inter-inclusions. Like this today has been Malchut inside of Gevurah. So, in other words, the first week is Chesed and Chesed, Gevurah and Chesed, and then you keep going, Tiferet and Chesed, Hod and Netzach and Yesod and Chesed, each one. And then eventually you keep going. The lowest of the one's world is the highest of the next one's world, 10 sephirot. It's like of the Partsufim. So like before the evolution, you have the Keser, the inner is the Ancient of Days, like the outer is the long face. Then you have Chachma, which is father, Bina, mother, male is son, is Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and the female daughter is Malchus. These are like the male son is like the small face. And so you have like till it gets to Malchut, You have Malchut like the 0, and Keser is like the 1. And then Malchut becomes the Keser of the new world. So you have like these circles, concentric circles with a line from the middle coming out. It's like 1 into 0. Then you have the left, these are partsufim, right? The countenances. Then you have the left is the female, the right is the male, and the left arm is gevura, the right is chesed. Both sets of fingers are both chesed and gevura. Tiferet is the torso, bina is the heart and the right eye. Chachma is the left eye. Das is the third eye. Malchut is the mouth and the feet. Netzach is the right leg and the right ovary and the right testicle and the right kidney. Hod is the left leg, the left kidney, ovary, testicle. And Netzach and Hod have both sets of toes and the legs, right? And then Yesod has the genitals and the pelvis, basically. And I'll share now in terms of the tree of life, any area of life, including the higher self and, rough, sort of subconscious in the context of man's place in the universe, is man's inner world. And we can represent a series of divine emanations of God's creation itself, ex nihilo, like from something from nothing. The nature of revealed divinity is the human soul, and the spiritual path of ascent by man is the tree of life. And it's also a map of creation, a full model of reality. It's also a diagram of how the universe came into being, and we could also say it's the tree of knowledge. It can be viewed from the end, which is Malchut, or the middle, which is Tiferet. And after the energy condenses into matter, it reverses back up the tree and unites with Keser, the true nature, the journey of return to know the self. And the universe as a godly expression is the seeking of realization, to be realized. So we have Keter, and I'm going to show a picture of it, a diagram of it. I think that's the only way. Just look at the green diagram right here. So you have Keser above, right? And then you have Bina, and then Chachma, it's backwards, I guess. And so you can look this up online, the tree of life. And I'm going to share the Aleph base. So we have Keser to Chachma is Hey, Keser to Bina is Vav. And then you have the Bina to the Chachma is Shin. Then you have the Das, that secret dimension, right? From Keser to Tiferet, which is Daled. Then you have Bina to Tiferet is Ayin. Chachma to Tiferet is Tes. Then you have the Chachma to Netza, to Chesed is Beis. And Bina to Gevura is Gimel. Then Chesed to Gevura, the two sides you have Aleph. And then the Chesed to the Netzach you have Chaf. And Gevura to Hod, you have Pei. Is it Chaf or is it Nun? Yeah, I think it's Nun. I think it's Chaf. Could be Netzach to Yesod is the Chaf or the Nun. All right, well, hopefully I got it right. Netzach, so then you have Netzach to Hod. So you have Gevura to Tiferes, which is the Dalid, and Chesed to Tiferes, which is Ches. And then Tiferes to Netzach, the leg is Yud, and Tiferes to Hod is the Samach, it looks like. And then the Hod to Netzach across the legs, right here and here, you have Mem. And then you have the Tiferet to Yesod, which is Reish, and then you have Hod to Yesod, which is Hod. Hod to Yesod is Lamed. Netzach to Yesod is the Nun, and I hope I got that right. And then Yesod to Malchut down is tough. And I'll leave it there. Thank you for joining me, and I will record another video for to finish this topic from these. Actually, I'll share. You know what? I will share a little bit more here. The neshama's kochos hanefesh, the strength of the body. So it's the neshama gives the strength to the body. So sephirot is the outer function in the divinity of the soul for the inner experience, which is the inner divine motivation and human soul response. And it's is the format for following. So then you have. So you have one is Keter, the crown. It's above consciousness. The essence is emuna, or faith. It's an expression of soul in the infinite. And the inner is the tanug, the source of delight. The soul is actually rooted in delight. And the outer is the ratzon, the will, the unconscious, transcendent will the soul expresses through our will. Then we have Chachma, which is the insight of wisdom. It's the first revelation of intellect. It's a bittul, a selflessness. Like Bitulah is a virgin, so it's like just completely receiving the revelation, inspiring, and it's a self-nullifying. And like a bittul, like a virgin, so what would make her no longer a virgin is if her Bitulah was broken. So we almost like use this the holiest way. We virginize ourselves, almost like by cutting ourselves, like how could the light get in if we don't make a space? In other words, the insight. Then we have 3, the bina, the understanding. This is the grasped intellect. And actually it's simcha and joy, because understanding awakens joy. I get it all makes sense, Then we have chesed, which is the primary emotion of giving, loving kindness. Ava is love of God and the divine in all things. And there's a response of divine giving. And gevura is the primary emotion of restriction, might, and severity. It actually relates to yira, which is the fear of God, the mystical awe of divinity. And 6 is sephirot, which is the primary emotion of balance, beauty, harmony. And we have rachamim, which is mercy and compassion. This balances kindness and restriction. And 7 is netzach, secondary emotion of giving, victory, eternity, bitachon, which is actually confidence and certainty. It inspires determination. And hod is number 8, the secondary emotion of restriction, thanksgiving and splendor, which is timimut, sincerity, earnestness, a sincere response to divine glory. 9 is yesod, a secondary emotion of balance and foundation, which is emet, truth, drive to verify the connection in the task. And then 10 is malchut, which is the emotional vessel for action, kingship, shiflut, which is lowliness, actually the action through receiving the higher sephirotic lights. And finally, there's the 11th dimension, or sometimes called, or there's, they're all like the folating, or no, accolading, or collating. They're collated by like each one is change the number, and then you have really 11 is malchut, 10 is yesod, 9 is hod, then you put in 4 is das. That's the assimilated knowledge. It's a union. It's yichud. It's with the union of an idea which awakens the emotions between bina and chesed, like the intellect. And I'll just say one more thing, that the second sephirot to the 10th is all derived from the one. So their end is rooted in the beginning, as the flame is bound to the coal. They're abstractions from the original.